everybody, welcome to our section 6.3 video lecture on proportions. So first off, what is a proportion? A proportion is a statement that two ratios are equal. Okay, so we're going to have ratio equals ratio. That's what they look like. The first thing we're going to do is just go from words to proportions, and we're just going to write these as a proportion. Okay? So $40 is to 5 t-shirts as $80 is to 10 t-shirts. So my first ratio is the $40 to 5 t-shirts. So that would be $40 over 5 t-shirts. So there's my equal sign. My second ratio is $80 is to 10 t-shirts, so that'd be $80 over 10 t-shirts. Okay, so that's what a proportion looks like. We've got a ratio on one side, we have a ratio on the other side, and it's a statement that those two ratios are equal. And if you want to double check yourself, 40 divided by 5 is 8. 80 divided by 10 is also 8, so those things are actually equal to each other. Let's see, the next one says 12 children is to 3 adults, as 16 children is to 4 adults. So my first ratio is 12 children to 3 adults. So I'll have 12 children, since it comes first, we'll have that on top, over 3 adults, since that was listed second. So there's my equal sign. My second ratio is 16 children to 4 adults. So I'll have 16 children over 4 adults. And so my proportion is saying that those two ratios are equal to each other. If you want to double check yourself, 12 divided by 3 is 4. 16 divided by 4 is also 4, so those really are equal. Next thing to talk about is cross products. So cross products are where you multiply across a proportion and they kind of make an X. So A times D would be one cross product, and B times C would be another cross product here. So they are products who are multiplying. It's a numerator for one, the denominator of the other. They kind of make an X when you're looking at them that way. It's like a diagonal. Okay? So you may have heard that those cross products are equal, or that we can cross multiply to solve for these, okay? So why does that work? Why is that true? So if I have A over B equals C over D, and we were back in chapter 4, the fraction chapter, and I needed to solve a fraction. One of the strategies we used was by multiplying both sides by the least common denominator. So my denominators are B and D, so my least common denominator would be B times D. So if I multiplied both sides by B times D, what would happen on the left side? Well, my b's would actually divide out. B divided by B is 1. And I'd be left with D times A, or if you want to write it alphabetically, that's A times D. On the right side, what would happen? Well, my d's would divide out. D divided by D is 1. So you're left with C times B, or if you want to write it alphabetically, that would be B times C. So there's my two cross products, A times D and B times C, and they're equal to each other, and this is why. Because if you multiply both sides by the least common denominator, we'll get those two cross products equal to each other. Okay? So along that line, if you want to know, is a proportion actually true, you've got two ways you can look at it, and you can use either one. One way you can look at it is that each ratio should simplify to the same value. So each ratio simplifies to the same value. That's what we were doing in example 1. Okay. The other way is using the cross products. The cross products are equal to each other. Okay. So either one of those will work if you want to know if the proportion is true or not. So in example A, we have 4 over 5 equals 16 over 20. We just want to know if it's a true proportion, if they're actually equal to each other or not. So one way you can do that is by simplifying it to the same value. So 4 over 5 is already simplified. But 16 over 20, both of those could be divided by 4. So 16 divided by 4 is 4, 20 divided by 4 is 5. So they both simplify to be 4/5. So yes, that's true. The other way, if you would like to try the cross product way, is you could do the cross products and see if they're equal. So you could do 4 times 20, and you can do 5 times 16. 4 times 20 is 80, and 5 times 16 is also 80. So since those are equal, that proportion is true. Alright, let's try part B. We've got 3 over 6 equals 14 over 26. If you want to try the simplifying method, 3 and 6 are both divisible by 3. So that would simplify to 1/2. 14 and 26 are both divisible by 2. So that would simplify to 7 over 13. Those are not the same. So this would be false. This is not a true proportion. If you want to try the cross product method, you would do 3 times 26, and you would do 6 times 14. 3 times 26 is 78. 6 times 14 is 84, so those are also not equal to each other. So these have both come to the same conclusion. There's 2 different ways to decide if these proportions are true or false. Alright, now that we've kind of set everything up and gotten through kind of the work of how to understand these proportions, let's work on solving them. So if you want to solve a proportion, probably the best way you can do that is cross multiplying. That's where we're saying that those cross products are equal, so we can look at the cross products, okay? For each one of these, we are going to answer as an integer or as a decimal rounded to the nearest hundredth, so that's 2 decimal places. Okay. So first one, if you want to use your cross products, you would do 3 times 40 is equal to 8 times x. 3 times 40 is 120. 8 times x is 8x. Then from here we can solve for x by dividing both sides by 8. If you divide by 8 on both sides, you'll get that x equals 15. Oops. It's a terrible looking 5, but it'll work. Alright, in part B, we've got 9 over 12 equals w over 20. If you want to look at your cross products, we'd have 9 times 20. And that should be equal to our other cross product of 12 times w. 9 times 20 is 180. 12 times w is 12w. Okay? So if you want to solve for w, we would divide both sides by 12. And then that means that w would also equal 15. I promise the answer is not always 15. We just coincidentally got it twice in a row. Okay? Let's see, C. We have 14 over 21 equals 68 over y. If you want to cross multiply right away, you can. But I'll show you a little trick. 14 and 21 simplify. So if you simplify one of your ratios before getting started, that can make your arithmetic a little bit easier. So I noticed that 14 and 21 are both divisible by 7. So you can actually simplify that to 2/3 before getting started. And that makes your numbers a little bit smaller and easier to work with. See, my cross products would be 2 times y, and 3 times 68, which is 204. So if I want to solve for y, I'll divide both sides by 2, and so y equals 102. Let's see, next one, we have 5 over 9 equals 92 over n. I'll cross multiply, so I'll do 5 times n equals 9 times 92. 9 times 92 is 828. To solve for n, I'll divide both sides by 5. And that's not going to divide perfectly, you'll get a decimal. So we're doing a decimal rounded to the nearest hundredth place, so 2 decimal places. So I get 165.6, or if you want to round it to the nearest hundredth, that would be 0.60. Alright, are you guys about ready to try one? I know it has decimals in it, but it's the same procedure. If you haven't yet, go ahead and try part E. We have 2.4 over 0.08 equals x over 10. Go ahead and pause your video, and we will go over the answer in 3, 2, 1. When you cross multiply, you're going to get 0.08x equals 24. When you divide both sides by 0.08, you'll get x equals 300. How'd you guys do? We do okay? Alright, last one is part F, and I'll let you guys try one more time. This one ends up with a pretty messy decimal, but we're rounding it to the nearest hundredth place, okay? So just 2 decimal places. Go ahead and pause your video and try that one, and I'll show you the answer in 3, 2, 1. You should be doing 9.5 times y equals 2.5 times 0.02, which would be 0.05. If you divide both sides by 9.5, you're going to get y is about 0.005 and has a bunch of other numbers. But if we round that to the nearest hundredth place, you're going to get 0.01 as an answer. Okay. If we were going to the nearest thousandth place, we get 0.005. How do we do on that one? Okay, last up is proportions that have fractions in them. So we're going to solve each proportion for the unknown number, but this time we're going to either answer as an integer or a fraction or a mixed number. Okay, so let's give these a try. So first one is 1 3/4 over 3 2/5 equals x over 12. You guys might remember that when we're doing operations with the mixed numbers, it's a lot easier if we make them into improper fractions. So let's start there. So when I'm doing my cross product, because I'm just going to do cross products like we've been doing, I'm going to do 1 3/4 times 12. Well, 1 3/4 as an improper fraction, I would do 4 times 1, which would be 4, plus the 3 on top, which is 7, and keep the denominator the same. I would have 7/4. My cross product, I'm going to multiply that by 12. So I'm going to multiply by 12 over 1. For the other cross product, I have 3 2/5. So 5 times 3 is 15, plus the 2 on top is 17. So as an improper fraction, that would be 17/5, and I'm multiplying that by x. Okay? And see, from here, on the left side, I can simplify a little because 4 and 12 are both divisible by 4. So I'm going to divide by 4 and divide by 4. So I'll end up with 7 times 3, which is 21 over 1. So I'll have 21 over 1 equals 17/5 x. All right. To solve for x, it's multiplied by 17/5. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 17/5. And so what that's going to look like, so this will divide out, it'll be 1 times x. And on the left side, I'm going to have 21 over 1 divided by 17/5, so that's multiplied by the reciprocal, multiplied by 5 over 17. That's what that looks like. Nothing simplifies, so I just multiply straight across. 21 times 5 is 105. So I'm going to have 105 over 17. It didn't say that my fraction had to be a proper fraction, so you can actually leave it this way if you'd like to. If you would like to turn it back into a mixed number, you're welcome to do so. What I would do is do 105 divided by 17, which is a little over 6. So that would be, 6 would be my whole part. If I do 6 times 17, I get 102. So that would be a difference of 3 from the 105. So 3 is the remainder. So it would be 6 3/17 as a mixed number if you want to go that far. Alright, part B. Now that I've done one of these fractions for you, I want you guys to try one, okay? So I want you all to try part B. Pause your video, try that one, and we'll go over it in 3, 2, 1. Alright, so what you should be doing is cross product, so you'll do 3 times w, which is 3w. The other cross product's the messy one, so you'll have 2 1/2, which would be 5 halves, times 1 2/3, which would be 5/3. Okay? So this is still 3w. If you multiply those together, nothing simplifies, so we'll have 5 times 5, which is 25. We'll have 2 times 3, which is 6. And then, if you want to solve for w, you divide by 3 on both sides. Remember, dividing by 3 is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. That's the same as multiplying by 1/3. So this will divide out. Nothing simplifies on this one, so we're multiplying straight across. So that would be 25 over 18, and you can leave it that way if you'd like to. If you want to make that into a mixed number, you're welcome to do so. 18 goes into 25 only one time. 1 times 18 is 18, so it would have a difference of 7. So it would have a remainder of 7 over 18, if you want to write that as a mixed number. Okay. Good luck on these proportions. Do lots of practice, and have a great week.